Hey, what's up everyone? This is Snackbox. Hope you all are having an amazing day. Guys, we have some news regarding upcoming summoning events for the weekend. So on Friday, March the 13th, we're planning to launch a 2x event to summon epic and legendary champions from Ancient and Void shards, plus legendary champions from Sacred shards. So it's an 2x event on all shards but mysteries and primals. Maybe there will be a 2x primal soon. I'm really hoping because I have some saved up, but who knows? And on top of that, it gets even better. We will have a 10x event to summon Cabaron the Underflame from Ancients and Sacred Shards, one of the new Argonauts champions. We're going to talk about that in a second. And Storm Herald Hackathon from Void Shards. This event will be active for 24 hours. So two of the new Argonauts champions will be available through this 10x summoning event on Friday, but keep in mind that a 10x event on non-voids or even voids is a relatively low chance, and your chance doesn't increase when you pull legendary champions, but we do have the 2x simultaneously, which is pretty good. Then on Saturday, on March the 14th, we're planning to launch a 10x event to summon Basim from Ancient and Sacreds and Bayek from Void Shards. This event will be live for 24 hours as well. So another shot to get Bayek, which is absolutely amazing. I just started to build mine and, took him for a spin in Live Arena, and it was absolutely amazing. I'm going to do a video on that as well. I think tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. I'm not quite sure yet when I'm going to be done, but I'm going to share my builds with you and what my decision was for sets and the way that I build him and relics and everything. And yeah, keep an eye out for that. So pretty amazing. We have, two Argonauts 10x's on Friday until Saturday. And then from Saturday until Sunday, we have the 10x for Basim and Bayek. And then from Sunday to Monday, there will be no 10x, just a regular 2x for Voids, Ancients and Sacred Shards. Now, if you still need to collect the rare champions for the fusion, this is probably one of the best case scenarios you can ask for this Champ Chase tournament, to have a 2x event on all shards. But still, I wouldn't open any Sacred Shards because the value for Sacred Shards is almost cut in half compared to the value for summon rushes or heroes paths. So definitely save up your Sacred Shards and use Ancients or Voids here. That is the best way to do this. Or if you don't want to use any shards, you can also use Broadmaw fusions or any fragment fusions or any type of champion acquisition to get points for this Champion Chase tournament. Also, if you wonder what chart is the best one to buy for Champ Chase tournaments, I did a video about that, and I'm going to put the link in the description below and also in the pinned comment, so you can go ahead and check that out. But yeah, we will have, some nice rewards, hopefully, on this Champion Chase tournament. We will have relic mats for sure, and I'm wondering if there are any mythical relic mats available throughout this Champion Chase tournament. Most likely on the leaderboard, yes, but not so likely on the normal milestones, so we will have to see and wait where those are sitting at. But for the fusion rare, those are most of the time, I think, at like 3,000 points or 2,000 points. It really depends on what type of fusion it is. I think for traditional fusions, the milestones are set a little bit higher. So I'm expecting something like 3,000 points, which is definitely not bad considering that we have a 2x for all shards. And yeah, this should be very accessible for most players, at least for those that, have couple shards saved up for this Champ Chase tournament. All right, so let's talk about the Argonauts champion first. We have Cabaron the Underflame as the Force Affinity champion for the non-void shards. Let's check the reviews. So the reviews are saying he's at 4.95 across the board, pretty much. Okay, that looks pretty cool. Let's take a look at his kit. So he's attack-based legendary champion, and he looks awesome. Probably one of the best designs out of all of them, in my opinion. I mean, Hackathon also looks very cool with the lightnings and everything. But yeah, I mean, this just looks badass with the black and red theme all across the armor and the weapons. absolutely amazing with the Cerberus on the shield and on the helmet and the flame. Man, this looks so good. So A1 attacks one enemy 2 times, has a 75% chance of placing a decreased defense debuff for 2 turns, a big version, has a 50% chance of attacking with this skill whenever an enemy has a HP burn debuff activated on them. Occurs once per turn. Okay, pretty cool. He can attack out of his turn, which is amazing. He's attack based, and that means most of the time, attack based champions are very squishy, but let's have a look at the rest of his kit. Another single target attack attacks one enemy 2 times. Before attacking, places a Death Brand debuff on the target for 2 turns. This is an absolutely amazing debuff because if you kill somebody under Death Brand, he will be block revived. Champions under a Death Brand debuff will receive the block revive debuff when killed. Very, very useful debuff, especially in this current meta with a lot of insane revivers. You have Marichka, Galatier, Theodosia. You have these champions that have passives which revive them. You have Embrys, Solinar, and Arn as well. So a lot of self-reviving champions, and also a lot of revivers that are currently meta. Will ignore unkillable and shield buffs, as well as 25% of the target's defense. Very amazing skill. Just because he's ignoring unkillable. There are not many champions that can ignore unkillable, and it's probably one of the best buff right now to prevent a fatal hit. Unkillable is very, very strong. There are more champions that ignore block damage, which is the other buff, that kind of does a similar thing. So unkillable is definitely harder to deal with, but he can just ignore it without any condition, which is amazing, okay? And he's ignoring 25% of the target's defense. Activates this champion's Pyrenees power, I think is how you say it, skill if the target is killed. If the target survives, fills this champion's turn meter by 50% instead. So if you killed someone with this skill, which should smack real hard, and you ignore shield, unkillable, 25% of the target's defense, then he will use his A3, which is an AoE attack. Before attacking, places 50% increased accuracy buff on all allies for 2 turns, has a 75% chance, 100% chance if booked, of placing a HP burn debuff on all enemies for 2 turns, fills this champion's turn meter by 20% for each HP burn debuff placed on enemies, and fills this champion's turn meter by 10% for each HP burn debuff resisted by enemies. So I think this is a very amazing champion. He can probably one-shot a champion with unkillable and shields. So both of these attacks will ignore unkillable and shields. The only thing is, if you attack somebody with Mercurial, you cannot place the Death Brand, before that. Like he will try to place a Death Brand, it will get blocked by Total Guard, then he will remove the Mercurial and then deal damage. But if you manage to kill someone, he will just go in with the AoE attack afterwards. So he's attacking 2 times basically, which is definitely insane. So he has this active effect on the passive 4-turn cooldown, activates a delay effect on this champion whenever they receive a fatal hit. Amazing, okay? So you kind of have that last love effect on his passive, which has a 4-turn cooldown, and then his normal passive effect is heals this champion by 20% of their max HP whenever a HP burn debuff is activated on an enemy. So he actually has some self-sustain with the HP burns, and whenever a HP burn debuff on an enemy expires or is removed, places a True Fear debuff on that enemy for 1 turn. And we all know how annoying True Fear can be from Fabian. So yeah, interesting kit, very interesting kit. And it seems like you kind of want to build him with accuracy, which is cool if you pair him with Bayek, for example. I think he could be a possible, pair with Bayek, and that could work. Okay, so overall, I think this champion is very solid. He can ignore defense, unkillable, shield, has multi-hitters on A1 and A2, and if he kills someone, he follows up with his AoE, HP burns, True Fear, self-heals, and also has a delay effect, so some survivability, not bad. And then we have Hackathon, the Void Legendary, which we also have a 10x for. And yeah, I actually faced him on the content creator tournament, on the Teleria tournament, and he's pretty cool. He has a provoke and enfeeble on A1. Then he also buffs increased defense and storm call on all allies, and this attack is always critical if the number of buffs on the target is equal to or less than this champion's. So in general, he's a very, very unique and interesting champion. He can ignore stone skin and defense if he has more buffs or equal to the target. And if he kills the target, it decreases the turn meters of all other enemies by an amount equal to the turn meter of that target had. Then he has a very final like A3 with increased crit rate, block damage, counter attack, and a turn meter fill. And yeah, this is very interesting because of his passive. Whenever an ally under a Storm Call stack placed by this champion lands a critical hit, this champion deals additional pure damage to the target. If the target is not a boss or a minion, the pure damage dealt is equal to 2% of the target's max HP for each buff on this champion. It stacks up to 10%. So this pure damage ignores shield, block damage, and strengthen as well. So the Storm Call stacks are very, very annoying. And I think in a 9-piece Mercurial set, this guy can be very, very strong and annoying. And he also has that all battle speed aura, which is very rare to come by. 24%, the highest is 25% on our base, Lazarius, and there are, I think, one or two more, but 24% is very, very close, right? So for Siege, this is definitely very, very helpful. And in general, his kit is very unique and also strong. Now on Saturday, we will have a 10x for Basim. I don't know much about Basim. I haven't used him yet. I currently run him in Minnow, and I'm getting his masteries ready, and then I'm gonna see if he's any good. I don't know, actually. But he can place block active skills, and he has, you know, the weaken on A1, debuff spread, which is kind of interesting. And yeah, I think he could be quite cool. He has this passive where his effects will ignore polymorph when he steals random buffs or transfers debuffs. And yeah, I think it could be quite cool if you pair him with Bayek, which is definitely the better assassin out of all of them. Yeah, so Bayek has this passive right here, right? This champion and their allies cannot receive critical hits from enemies whose accuracy is equal to or lower than their own accuracy. And there are not many champions or nukers that you build with accuracy. You have Carnage, you have Marius, and those are probably the most popular ones. Not sure, like from the top of my head, I can't even think of more. But yeah, those are kind of like the most popular ones. And yeah, if you have him on your team and the enemy team doesn't have high accuracy nukers, you won't receive any critical hits. You're ultimately tanky, and you know you can survive all the nukes, all the big nukes without a problem. And yeah, he's just overall an amazing champion for PvP, but not only for PvP, also for PvE. For Chimera specifically, he provides Leech on the A1, decrease accuracy and decrease resistance on the A2. Decrease resistance is very hard to get. Not many champions can do it. Galatier is the most used one for this debuff in Chimera for trials. Then we have Balar, and after that, you know, there's like a big gap between the champions that are actually, you know, valuable for the decreased resistance and that provide, you know, a lot more other buffs and debuffs, and he does that. Okay, so he provides a leech, the decreased accuracy, the decreased resistance, increased accuracy, perfect veil, and increased defense. That's 6 buffs and debuffs in one champion. I mean, that's also his void affinity. He doesn't get weak hit. He doesn't hit weak hit, so you can use him on all rotations. And yeah, he's just an absolute beast. And I can't wait to use mine on Chimera, and I'm as I said, currently working on a PvP build that I'm going to show you guys. But yeah, guys, that's been pretty much it for this video. Let me know in the comments below if you are going for any of these champions, and if so, for which one. My personal opinion is that WOEQOVKE is the most valuable one out of all of them, because for one, he's time limited and he's really awesome in PvP and PvE, so he covers a lot more than the other champions. But if you already have him, then I would probably go for one of the Argonites and maybe Hekaton. I think Hekaton is slightly better than Caberon, but I'm not quite sure because I haven't seen him in action, but I've seen Hekaton in action. So yeah, guys, that's it. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to smash that like button. Also, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more raid content. The YouTube algorithm is going to suggest you a video that you might like right here, and see you in the next one.